Now I will hand over the floor to you, Peter, and so that you clearly you can share with us what you see as the key elements and of services in trade facilitation. The President of Indonesia this morning emphasized the importance of services, both logistic services, transport services, that basically without services, it will be very difficult to increase intra-regional trade. Can you share with us from your own perspective, please?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Valentine. People are all talking about trade facilitation. Why is that? Well, the answer lies partly in part of the name of this forum, or one of the themes, which was the new dynamics in global trade. And so what are those new dynamics? Well, basically, we're operating in a different way than the classical theories of trade taught us. And that was that you would produce one product in one country and you would export it to another country. But that isn't the way things are happening anymore. Basically what is happening is the whole production process is disaggregated. And so the way it happens is that inputs and components, manufacturing processes, services, they are being combined from locations and suppliers that are all over the world. So nobody really produces, I don't say nobody, I mean, there's much less the instance where something is produced entirely in one country. For example, if you pick up an iPhone, you look at the back and you see it says made in China. That's very misleading. Actually, the value that China incorporates into that product is 4 or 5% of the value. But because of the way the trade statistics are done, the country that provides the final transformation is the one to whom the product is attributed. So that isn't really what is, that's I say, is very misleading. And so what has happened actually is that we no longer are trading in goods, we are trading in tasks, where we each provide some part of the value of a product. And this system, to be competitive in this system, requires that a country be able to move components and products seamlessly and efficiently across borders. So what does that mean? It means zero or low tariffs. It means very predictable and efficient customs procedures. It obviously means physical infrastructure that works, but it also means a whole array of supportive services that enable all of these processes to work. Actually, President Yudhoyono expressed this morning, that this system of global supply networks provides some opportunities for small and medium enterprises and smaller countries. They don't have to master an entire product manufacturing system or process. They can plug into the global trading system and be able to be exporters that way. Most small and medium enterprises don't export directly. They export by feeding into the global supply chains of much larger companies, which then also have worldwide networks of distribution. Another factor to keep in mind that also reinforces why trade facilitation is so important is that a very large part of trade today happens within a single company. In the case of the United States, when I'm speaking, I often ask people in an audience, I'll say, an American audience, I'll say, who do you think is our largest trading partner? And, you know, they'll say Canada, Mexico, China, Japan. Well, the answer actually is ourselves, because 35% of all our imports and 35% of all our exports are within a single company. And these single companies obviously want to have a system and a pattern where they can move their products, their inputs, their components, and even their partially assembled products across borders very, very smoothly. So what are the policies that really matter under these circumstances? To oversimplify, customs procedures, physical infrastructure, so-called soft infrastructure, services. And so what are the policies that actually enable a country to plug into the global supply chain most effectively? Let me focus on the customs procedures. First of all, transparency. And what that means is that the rules, the regulations, the procedures are all made public, and that they are reliably what are announced. But also, as new policies and regulations are considered, that those are put out publicly in advance and allowed to have people comment on them. So this sort of transparency is very important. Expediting customs procedures for things like express delivery. In this system of supply chains, getting your components and moving your products out on time and predictably is very, very important. It's crucial. And so a lot of this happens through express delivery. And so having expedited procedures for that is very important. Also, separating the physical and the financial release of products as it goes through customs, again, is a question of timeliness and predictability. And so systems of surety and bonding enable that to take place. Taking advantage of the internet and electronics is very important. Electronic submission of data enables people to move the products more efficiently, and also electronic certification of compliance with regulations. These are procedures, again, which enable the goods, the components, the inputs to move predictably and quickly through the customs process. Costs, additional costs. There are a lot of, if I can say, nuisance costs that slow up the process and add to the cost of this whole process, of this whole supply chain operation. So things like having a de minimis for products that come in where they're duty-free below a certain amount. Having a sufficiently high de minimis is important. Taking a look at a lot of nuisance tariffs. Is it really worth the extra effort and cost to collect tariffs of 1% or 2% in terms of how much revenue you really get for that effort at the cost of slowing down the movement in and out of the customs procedure? And the last is to attack corruption. And that was mentioned today, this morning, a number of times. So that's the customs side of it. Very quickly, the services side, it's extremely important, it's essential to have access to reliable and effective, efficient supporting services. The obvious ones are things like express delivery, logistics, shipping, freight forwarding, those sorts of services. But also banking, insurance, accounting. That's all part of the process of moving goods back and forth across borders. And speaking about cross borders, one of the things that is becoming very, very important and crucial for business is the ability to have cross-border flows of data, especially when we're talking about that phenomenon of trade within a company. And so telecommunications and information technology services also a part of this picture. So these are all really, in the broadest sense, competitiveness enhancing services. And it affects not only sales overseas, but also sales domestically and the competitiveness of domestic producers. So taking the combination of services and trade facilitation and addressing those two issues can go a long way to making a country and the companies and businesses within that country able to plug into the global services, global supply networks, which really are the predominant phenomenon in international trade today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Listening to you, one cannot but have in mind the trade facilitation negotiations that WTO members are currently engaged into, and which are precisely about what you have mentioned. Transparency, providing transparency, availability of information, but also the possibility to appeal when needed. Provide no discrimination for those that are relying on transit, and that was a key point made by Sharaf, but also Minister Robert Davis mentioned that there is a percentage that is striking between 10 and 11% of intra-regional trade only in Africa. And Africa is home to the majority of landlocked countries. So trade facilitation becomes even more important for these countries. The cost of trade take a bigger chunk of the value of trade in these particular countries. So having transparency, availability of information, non-discrimination, that's part of the negotiations that are ongoing.